Okay, good morning to all once again. Let's start with the questions given on page 18 after part 1 of the comprehension check. First question. Please raise your hand so that I can ask one by one. Yes, Mehak Prabhakar. Mehak Prabhakar, start with the first question, beta.
Where did the ceremonies take place? Can you name any public building in India that are made of sandstone?
Very good.
The ceremonies take place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union Buildings in Pretoria.
Yes.
In India, the buildings made of sandstone are Rashtrapati Bhavan, Red Fort, and India Gate, etc.
Parliament House also. Yeah. And please take care. This is a general problem which you all students are doing, leaving aside a few, because I'm checking your notebooks and what general problem I have found that if the question is given in the past, you start your answer in the present and then you go to the past. Then if the question is given in the past, some students are starting the answer in the present and then they go to past. Please beta take care of this thing. First thing, very important thing, that you must use the same tense which is given to you in the question. If the question is given in the past, answer in the past. If it is given in the present, try to answer in the present. But if you start the answer in the present and you go in the past for some past event or some past happening, that is okay. But if you start the question in the past and then you reach to the present, next line में आप present tense use कर देते हो, that will not be acceptable. There will be a mistake and the marks will be deducted for that. Keep the rules of the reported speech in your mind when you write these sentences, because when you continue the sentence, first clause is in the past tense, the second should also be in the past, leaving aside some exceptions. But if you start in the present, then you can change the tense. You can continue in the past also, if it is any past event which you want to tell. But don't mix the tenses starting with the past and then coming to the present. This is the common mistake which I am looking in your notebooks, which you have sent for the first assignment. Okay. Now, I hope the first question is clear. Where did the ceremonies take place? The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union Building in Pretoria. And for decades, this has been the seat of white supremacy. Then the names of the buildings in India that are made of sandstone, the Parliament House, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and the Red Fort are some of the examples in India. Coming to the second question, Isha Sharma. Isha Sharma, beta.
Can you say how 10 May is an autumn day in South Africa?
Yes.
South Africa is the South Africa is located in the southern hemisphere, and due to which May falls in the autumn season.
Okay. Why is it considered as the autumn day, particular 10th May? This is one reason that you have given. What is the other? Lavanya, can you explain more, beta? What is the significance of using this word autumn here?
Ma'am, because this day, the South African government, the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government was about to happen, and it was the ceremony where the president and the other ministers were going to pledge. Ma'am, you are not audible.
You are not audible.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Yes, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was asking you that there is double meaning given for this word autumn day. One is the literal meaning, as Isha has told that South Africa is situated in the southern hemisphere, so there was autumn season in the month of May, whereas here in India, because we are in the northern hemisphere, we have summer season. Okay. What is the symbolic meaning of this word? If we go for the symbolic and the hidden meaning, which is mentioned here. Lavanya, can you explain? What is the symbolic meaning of the autumn day here?
Ma'am, that the South Africa had been under the Britishers for many years, and on this day, the installation of the first democratic and non-racial government was about to happen,
Yes.
and the first black president Nelson Mandela was also going to swear.
Correlate it with the autumn season. What happens in the autumn season? All the leaves, old leaves, destroyed leaves or the spoiled leaves of the trees fall down, and the new leaves and the flowers start blooming on the trees and the plants. So, in the same way, the old system of apartheid was coming to an end, and a new system of equality and justice and peace was going to prevail on this day of 10th May. That's why it is considered as an autumn day. Clear? Literally, also, it was the autumn season there. And if we go for the symbolic meaning, this tells us, just like the autumn season, that the system of apartheid was going to end, the exploitation and slavery was going to come to an end, and a new system of equality and freedom was going to be started there, prevailing there. That's why it was considered as autumn day. 10th May is particularly considered as the autumn day. Clear? Now coming to the next question, question number 3. Yes. Next one, Drig Bajaj.
Uh, Third question. At the beginning of his speech, Mandela mentions an extraordinary human disaster. What does he mean by this? What is the glorious human achievement he speaks of at the end?
Yes.
Uh, the the human extraordinary human disaster Mandela mentioned in the his speech is about the system of apartheid in South Africa,
Yes.
which has caused a lot of inequality and a lot of exploitation of the black people, the native of South Africa people. They not allowed to sit. They had to sit separately and do all
Simply, you
work.
can say they were curtailed of their basic rights.
They were not given their basic rights, so they were exploited.
Yes.
Exploited.
Yes.
That's why it is referred to as a extraordinary human disaster.
Yes.
And then at the end, Mandela mentions about glorious achievement. This means that now now the system of apartheid is abolished, and then a new system in which all people will have equality and all rights will be given to them, and thus it was an thus it is a,
Yes.
a
Very good.
glorious
Very good.
achievement for the humanity, for the welfare of humanity.
Okay. I think the idea is clear. He has explained in a very detail. At the beginning of his speech, Nelson Mandela mentions an extraordinary human disaster to the system of apartheid that was present at that time. And white supremacy was there. They were being exploited. They were curtailed of their liberty, and they were not enjoying their proper rights at that time. So that system is known as apartheid system, and South Africans, the blacks, were suffering from all this. So this is referred to as an extraordinary human disaster. Then he has mentioned in his speech about the glorious human achievement. What is that? That is the achievement of freedom, the first elected democratic government which was going to be established, which will be based on the justice, peace, and human dignity. It will provide equal rights to all. No one would be suppressed or oppressed, will be exploited. So this is known as glorious human achievement, which they have achieved now. Coming to the next question, question number 4. Khushdeep. Khushdeep, beta.
What does Mandela thank the what does Mandela thank the international leaders for?
Yes.
Mandela thanked the international leaders for having come to take possession with the people of his country.
Yes. Mandela thanks the international leaders for coming to attend that inauguration ceremony, because earlier many of the countries had cut off their relations. They were outlaws. They had broken their diplomatic relations with the African people and South Africa. So at this time, when all the great personalities, the dignitaries, and the all political leaders of different nations have come there, they have surrounded Mandela and they were greeting Mandela for this great victory. That's why Mandela thanks all those international leaders for coming there and cooperating with them for this establishment of justice, peace, and human dignity. Coming to the next question, Divya. Yes, Divya beta, question number 5.
Yes, ma'am. Now, question number 5. What ideas does he set out for future of South Africa? And the answer is Nelson Mandela had high hopes for the future of South Africa. He pledged to liberate all South Africans from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering gender and other discrimination.
Yes.
He also stressed that the beautiful land of South Africa would never experience racial discrimination again.
Yes. There are 3 points given. 2 you have mentioned. Coming to the end of the first part, they have mentioned 3 points. The ideals which he sets out for the future of South Africa. The first was that he pledged with the country of his people, with the citizens of his people, of his country, that they will liberate all the people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Second ideal he set in front of all, that this beautiful land, that means South Africa, will again never experience the oppression of one by another. And the third ideal which he said, that this glorious sun, the sun will never set on so glorious a human achievement, that this great achievement which they have received now, which they have achieved now, that sun of victory, that sun of freedom will never set again. So these were the 3 ideals which he set out for the future of South Africa, and he made pledge to the people of uh, his country that they all will cooperate and they all will enjoy their liberty. Okay. Now, any problem to anyone till here? You can raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll move for the next part. Yes, the rest of you, lower your hand. If you have any problem only, then you can raise your hand. Yes, Pushkar beta, do you have any problem?
No, ma'am. No.
Then you are raising hand. Okay, coming to the second part. We have already started with the second part, that when this ceremony was going on, how a spectacular array, that means a very impressive display, colorful and attractive scenes were there. The presentation by the army, by the military forces were there, and Nelson Mandela was very happy that all those soldiers or all those army men who were decorated with the ribbons and the medals, and they were saluting him. And it was not only displaying their strength and power, but it showed that they all were showing their pledge for the loyalty for the new government. And then he told us that all those soldiers who were there to arrest him a few years ago, now they all were saluting him, and there was a pattern of in the V shape. They were celebrating their victory with black, red, green, blue, and gold flags of South Africa. Then we are told that this day was also symbolized with great importance, because both the national anthems were sung. The blacks were singing their own national anthem, whereas the whites were singing their own national anthem. This was also very important and symbolic, because it shows the equality and the liberty of all, that no one will be curtailed, no one will be oppressed and suppressed in this new democratic government. So all will have their own liberty, they all will have their own way to enjoy and sing their own national anthem. Now, coming to the last paragraph on this page 19, we were told about the history when he said that he was very overwhelmed with a sense of history in the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before the birth of Nelson Mandela. The white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and they erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned peoples of their own land, कि अपनी land के ही dark skinned people के against उन्होंने एक racial domination का system जो था वो start किया. And this structure that was formed on the basis of the harshest and the most inhumane societies the world has ever known, that has come to an end now in the last of the decade century and eighth decade of Nelson Mandela. And now that system has overturned forever and replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedoms of all the peoples regardless of the color of their skins. कि आप जो नया system वो establish करने जा रहे हैं, that will make everyone recognize his or her rights and freedom, regardless of the color of their skin and race. That means no discrimination will be there on the basis of the color and the skin. They all will enjoy their rights and freedom. Till here we have read. Coming to the next passage. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices that day, that means this day of inauguration or to enjoy the freedom and the liberty that had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. My people here refers to the people of South Africa, the citizens of South Africa who have sacrificed their lives. He wants to pay a tribute to those people who had sacrificed their lives, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. कि उन लोगों की sufferings और courage, हिम्मत के बारे में और दुख तकलीफ को काउंट नहीं किया जा सकता, and that cannot be repaid. Those who had sacrificed their lives, they cannot be brought back. So he is thankful to those people, to all those great leaders whose sacrifices are unimaginable. We cannot imagine. And the same is here in India. You can imagine कि हमारे country में भी freedom attain करने के लिए बहुत से लोगों ने अपने बलिदान दिए, अपनी जान तक न्यौछावर कर दी. बहुत से नाम आप जानते हो. You might have read about Bhagat Singh, Mahatma Gandhi, Kartar Singh Sarabha, Subhash Chandra Bose, many leaders you know. And you have read in history also that many leaders have sacrificed their lives to achieve this liberty and freedom for India also. The same happened there. So Nelson Mandela is being thankful to those people who had sacrificed their lives. He said, I felt that day, as I have on some many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. Please underline this line, what he says about himself. He says, I'm nothing. I was simply the sum means total of all those African patriots who had gone before me, कि मेरे आने से पहले अफ्रीका के जो भी पैट्रियट्स, जो भी देशभक्त हुए हैं, जिन्होंने अपनी लाइफ सेक्रीफाइस कर दी है इस कंट्री की फ्रीडम के लिए, मैं उन सब का एक टोटल हूँ, उन सब की स्ट्रेंथ की वजह से ही कहता मेरी स्ट्रेंथ है. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me, and now that line has ended. That means because those people had sacrificed, they had achieved this freedom, they had struggled for this freedom, and now that line of great leaders and patriots have come to an end. Now the country is going to begin with me because he is going to become the first president. I was pained that I was not able to thank them, and he is very much painful that he was not able to thank those people in their life because now they had sacrificed their lives, they were not present there. So he was pained with this idea that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. He was pained, one thing, that he was not able to thank them. Secondly, that those people were not present there to see what they have achieved with their sacrifices. Wrought here means what they had done and what they had achieved with their sacrifices. What is that? That is the liberty and the freedom and the elected democratic government which was going to establish for the equality and for the liberty of all, giving them all equal right and justice. So he was pained. उसको बड़ा दुख हो रहा है कि आज वो लोग present नहीं हैं जिनकी वजह से हमें ये आज़ादी मिली है और वो इस आज़ादी को enjoy नहीं कर पाएंगे. So he was pained that he wanted to thank them. He was not able to thank them in their presence. And secondly, they were not there now to enjoy that liberty which they had achieved with their sacrifices. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. Now, what is the effect of that among the people and how those people had sacrificed their lives? That is being explained to us in the next paragraph. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. कि इस apartheid की policy ने, system ने, कहता हमारे country के ऊपर और हमारे कंट्री के लोगों के ऊपर एक बहुत ही गहरा जख्म छोड़ा है. डीप एंड लास्टिंग, दैट मीन्स वेरी प्रोफाउंड, बहुत गहरा जख्म छोड़ा है. ऑल ऑफ अस विल स्पेंड मेनी years if not generations recovering from that profound hurt. कि अगर हम उस जख्म से बाहर निकलना चाहते हैं, मतलब किसी जख्म को भरने में टाइम लग जाता है ना, आपके चोट लग जाती है, कोई जख्म हो जाता है, वूंड हो जाता है, तो उसको भरने में टाइम लगता है. तो दैट ही इज सेइंग दिस इज द वूंड व्हिच हैज हर्ट आवर माइंड, कि हमारे मन को ठेस पहुंची है इसकी वजह से जो जख्म हुआ है. ऑल ऑफ अस विल स्पेंड मेनी years, कि हमें बहुत साल इसके लिए गुजारने होंगे, इफ नॉट जनरेशंस, कि अगर पूरी जनरेशन नहीं बट बहुत साल लग जाएंगे. मैनी years वी हैव टू स्पेंड फॉर दिस, रिकवरिंग फ्रॉम दैट प्रोफाउंड हर्ट, कि इस गहरे जख्म से, इस डीप और स्ट्रॉन्ग हार्ट जो कि हमारे मन में ठेस पहुंची है, उसको निकालने के लिए या उसको रिकवर करने के लिए हमें बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा. बट द डेकेड्स ऑफ ऑपरेशन एंड ब्रूटैलिटी हैड अनदर अनइंटेंडेड इफेक्ट. लेकिन इन डेकेड्स में दशकों, 10 साल के लिए एक डेकेड यूज किया जाता है, तो इन डेकेड्स में कहते हैं जो हमने ऑपरेशन और ब्रूटैलिटी, जो हमने उनकी स्लेवरी और क्रूअल्टी को सहन किया है, अनइंटेंडेड इफेक्ट, उससे एक ऐसा इफेक्ट, एक ऐसा प्रभाव, एक ऐसा रिजल्ट भी हुआ है दैट इज अनइंटेंडेड, जो कि हमने सोचा भी नहीं था. And that was that it produced the Oliver Thambos, and that effect is a good effect. अच्छा इफेक्ट भी हुआ है उसका, कहता जो कि हमने कभी सोचा भी नहीं था, अनइंटेंडेड था, इरादा नहीं था, सोचा नहीं था उसके बारे में. And what is that effect? That was that it produced the Oliver Thambos, the Walter Sisselers, the Chief Luthulus, the Yusuf Brados, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Soberways of our time. These are the great personalities or the great leaders of South Africa who had sacrificed their lives, who struggled for the freedom of the country. Much men of such extraordinary courage. You can see the pictures of all these great leaders of South Africa given with the names, and it is mentioned at the end that these are some prominent names in the struggle against apartheid. इस अपार्थीड सिस्टम की स्ट्रगल को खत्म करने वाले ये ग्रेट लीडर्स थे जिन्होंने की अपनी लाइफ जो थी वो सेक्रीफाइस करी. So he has given us the name of all these great leaders, and he is thankful to all for their courage, wisdom and generosity, that their like may never be known again. कि उनकी करेज, विजडम, इन समझदारी, जेनरॉसिटी, उनकी काइंडनेस, नेचर के लिए कहता वी आर ऑल थैंकफुल टू देम दैट देयर लाइफ में नेवर बी नोन अगेन, कि ऐसे लोग कभी भी हमारी लाइफ में नहीं आएंगे, कभी भी हमें दोबारा ऐसे लोग नहीं मिलेंगे, बिकॉज दे हैड सेक्रीफाइस देयर लाइव्स for the sake of the country. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppressions to create such heights of character. Please underline this line, which sometimes come in the form of a question, because how can we say that how these great heights of character are produced through the depth of oppression? क्या कहना चाहता है कि it requires, perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character, कि अगर हमें ऊंची हाइट के ऊंची करेक्टर वाले लोग, मतलब अच्छे करेक्टर वाले लोग क्रिएट करने हैं, तो हमें ऐसे डेप्थ्स ऑफ ऑपरेशन जो हैं उनकी ज़रूरत है. मतलब अगर हम ऐसी क्रूअल्टीज़ को, ऐसे ऑपरेशन को, स्लेवरी को सहन करेंगे तो ही अच्छे करेक्टर्स जो हैं वो सामने आएंगे. बिकॉज वी पीपल कम फॉरवर्ड ओनली व्हेन वी आर सप्रेस्ड. अदरवाइज ठीक ठाक सब कुछ चलता रहता है तो कोई अपने आप को आगे नहीं लाता, लेकिन जब हमारे साथ कुछ गलत हैपनिंग होती है, हमारे को कोई सप्रेस करता है, हमारे साथ कोई गलत ट्रीटमेंट करता है, तो कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो उसको सहन नहीं कर पाते. कुछ लोग तो सहन कर लेते हैं, दे डोंट स्पीक इवन एट दैट टाइम, बट सम could not tolerate that. कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो नहीं सहन कर पाते अपने साथ इनजस्टिस होता हुआ, they come forward and they raise again voice against that. तो उस ऑपरेशन के अगेंस्ट या उस इनजस्टिस के अगेंस्ट वो आवाज उठाते हैं. They come out with great characters, with heights of characters, and those people become leaders. वो इनिशिएटिव लेते हैं आगे आने का, so they become leaders. So in this way, Nelson Mandela tells us that this is the good effect that we had because we got some great leaders, leaders of high character, and it requires the depths of oppression. Do you understand this line now clearly? That if we need some great characters, if we need some great leaders, we have to go through these type of oppressions and the cruelties and the difficult and hard time. Only then we can have good characters and great leaders. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. क्या कह रहा है कि मेरा जो कंट्री है, मीन साउथ अफ्रीका जो है, इट इज रिच इन मिनरल्स. वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इन द वेरी बिगिनिंग थ्रू पीपीटी दैट इट हैज ग्रेट मिनरल वेल्थ आल्सो, मिनरल्स एंड जेम्स दैट लाई बीनीथ इट्स सॉइल, जो किसकी सॉइल के नीचे हैं, जमीन के नीचे हैं. बट I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people. Underline this line. Many times it comes in the form of a question and students are not able to understand कि किस चीज को वो greatest wealth कह रहा है. According to Nelson Mandela, the greatest wealth of the country is its people. उसके citizens, उसके लोग, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. कि अगर आप कंट्री में प्योरेस्ट डायमंड भी हैं तो उससे भी बढ़कर फाइन और ट्रू जो वेल्थ है कंट्री की, वो उस कंट्री के लोग हैं. You might have heard Narendra Modi's speech also, in which he has said that the youth of our country is the wealth of our country. शुरू में जब ये प्रधानमंत्री बने थे नरेंद्र मोदी, तो उसने ये स्पीच दी थी कि हमारे कंट्री में जो यंग जनरेशन है वो ज़्यादा है, परसेंटेज उनकी ज़्यादा है, एंड दिस इज द ग्रेटेस्ट वेल्थ ऑफ आवर कंट्री. And if they are going outside, that means we are sending our wealth to our outside, to the other countries. That's why he is advised to the youth of India that they should stay in India, do some work here in India, start their own industries if they are not getting the jobs. So according to Nelson Mandela is the same idea what he has given at that time, the same Narendra Modi is teaching us, that the greatest wealth of our country is its people. कि जो कंट्री के लोग होते हैं, जो कंट्री के सिटीजन्स होते हैं, वही उस देश की ग्रेटेस्ट वेल्थ वेल्थ होती है। वो कैसे? सपोज हमारे कंट्री के लोग जो हैं वो लेजी हैं, दे डोंट वांट टू डू एनी वर्क, और अगर कंट्री के लोग सिटीजन्स जो हैं वो काम नहीं करेंगे तो कंट्री कैसे प्रोग्रेस करेगा? It's not possible. So in the same way, if the people of the country are hard working, they are determined, they do perseverance efforts to achieve something, continuous efforts करते रहते हैं कुछ ना कुछ अचीव करने के लिए, तो country will automatically progress. जब country progress करता है तो अपने आप उसकी wealth जो है वो बढ़ती है. So in this way, the citizens of a country are known as the greatest wealth. This was the statement given by Nelson Mandela कि उसके कंट्री में बहुत से मिनरल्स और जेम्स हैं, बट ग्रेटेस्ट वेल्थ किसको कहा गया है? उस कंट्री के लोगों को, विच आर फाइनर एंड ट्रूअर देन द प्योर डायमंड्स. प्योर डायमंड से भी कहते वो सच्चे और सुचे और सबसे शुद्ध कहते जो मिनरल्स हैं वो वहाँ के लोग हैं. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. कहते कि इन सारे कॉमरेड्स मीन्स कंपेनियंस जो उसने नाम हमें मेंशन करे हैं ग्रेट लीडर्स के जिन्होंने स्ट्रगल करी एंड सेक्रीफाइस देयर लाइव्स, इट इज फ्रॉम दीज कॉमरेड्स द स्ट्रगल कि इन सारे कंपेनियन से साथियों से जिन्होंने की स्ट्रगल करी, ही सेड आई हैव लर्नड द मीनिंग ऑफ करेज, कि मुझे एक नया मीनिंग पता चला करेज के बारे में. हिम्मत क्या कुछ चीज होती है, हौसला क्या होता है. He said I learned a new meaning. Time and again I have seen men and women risk, give their life for an idea. कहता I have seen many times people sacrificing their lives for particular idea, but I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking. और मैंने बहुत से लोगों को देखा है कि उन्होंने अटैक्स को, बहुत सी प्रॉब्लम्स को सहन किया है, टॉर्चर को सहन किया है विदाउट ब्रेकिंग मीन्स बिना छोड़े हुए, बिना हिम्मत को छोड़े हुए. showing a strength and resilience that defies their imagination. So they have shown their courage and resilience, that is the ability to deal with any kind of hardship and recovering from its effect. कि हर तरह की मुश्किल को सहन करना और उस मुश्किल से, उस चैलेंज से ठीक ठाक बाहर निकल आना, उस प्रॉब्लम को सहन करते हुए, उस प्रॉब्लम को फेस करते हुए अपने वी कैन नॉट डिफाई देयर इमेजिनेशन. So what he says about the people, that those who have sacrificed their lives, they have faced the attacks, the tortures, and even then they have showed their strength. They did not give up. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear. What he had learned? He learned a new definition for courage from these great leaders. He learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but triumph over it. कि अगर हम डर की एब्सेंस है हमारे माइंड में, मतलब डर नहीं है तो हम करेजियस नहीं है. उसका कहने का मतलब यह है करेजियस हम तब होंगे जब हम उस डर की फीलिंग को जीत लेते हैं, उसको ओवर पावर करते हैं. वी ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट द रीजन व्हाई द फियर इज एंड देन वी डू प्रैक्टिस फॉर दैट. वी टेक हेल्प ऑफ अदर्स, we get knowledge from others, again do practice and overcome that feeling of fear. That is the feeling of courageous. So according to him, the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. मतलब बहादुर वो है जिसने who does not feel afraid, जो डरता नहीं है, but he who conquers that fear, जिसने उस डर की फीलिंग को जीत लिया. That man is the real brave man. So underline this all explanation given by him about courage and bravery. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow again. Please come with the reading